Hello everyone, welcome once again to my channel krishnasinghdeo. So we are meeting here to do one chapter called Ratio Analysis. This chapter is under Class 12 syllabus. Whether you belong to CBSE board or you belong to ISC board or any other board, this chapter is in most of the board's courses. Ratio Analysis is a very interesting chapter, very easy and scoring chapter. We have discussed first type of ratios in the previous video, in which I discussed with you two formulas of liquidity ratios. Two liquidity ratios are current ratio and liquid ratio. We had discussed in detail what are the formulas and what is current assets, current liabilities, and quick asset. If you have not yet watched that video, the link will be given to you in the description box. Please check that video. It will help you to understand today's session more clearly. So in today's session, what are we going to do? In today's session, we are going to practice a lot of numerical questions with the help of T.S. Grewal sir's book. So the book which I'm going to refer over here is T.S. Grewal sir's latest edition for the year 22-23, and this book belongs to ISC board. The same number of questions and almost same, I can say 90% of the questions are same in CBSE book also. So I will refer to ISC book, but this is equally valid and good for CBSE students also, because 90% questions are same for you people as well. So you can also refer to this video, and any other board also can refer to this book, because T.S. Grewal sir's book is one of the book which is used from quite number of years, and it is very good. Let's see. So here are the questions you can see. First of all, we have this current ratio and quick ratio under liquidity ratio. So let us start viewing the question. First question, which is going to be very simple question. I will not take very simple questions, just one or two questions which are very simple. I'm going to discuss with you so that you understand the concept of current assets and current liabilities. Later on, we will choose to do those questions which are little tricky ones, so that you can refer those questions from here, and the easy questions you can do on your own. See, first of all, what is given? And from the following data, compute the current ratio. So the requirement of question is computing the current ratio. What is information given to us? The question is giving us trade receivables, means sundry debtors, prepaid expenses, cash, marketable security, machinery, bills payable, sundry creditors, debentures, inventory, and expenses payable. So now you will have to pick up what are the current assets and what are the current liabilities from here, and those items which do not fall either under the current assets or current liabilities, you just have to ignore those items. So as far as current assets are concerned, this is current assets, current sundry debtors. Prepaid expenses is also current assets. Cash is also current assets. If I talk about marketable security, this is also current asset, and machinery is neither a current asset nor a current liability. So this has to be completely ignored while calculating current ratio. Now let's see what is the next one. This is bills payable. Bills payable is current liability. Sundry creditors is also ahead under current liability. Debenture is long-term borrowing, so it is not going to come under current ratio. Inventory. What is inventory? Inventory is a current asset, and if you remember in the previous video, I had told inventory has to be taken under current asset, but including any spare parts and loose tools, if this is included under inventory, it has to be ignored. But here, nothing like that is given, so we are going to take the entire amount of inventory. After this, expenses payable is given. Expenses payable are outstanding expenses, and which comes under other current liability. So this current liability is here. So altogether we have so many current assets and so many current liabilities. How are we going to solve this question? For solving this question, let me share my notebook with you. Here we will solve the question. So this is, first of all, you will have to write what is current ratio. Always start your question with writing the formula of ratio, because if you do not write the formula of ratio and you start solving the question directly, you may lose your marks. So current ratio is current assets upon current liability. Here again, I want to warn you that do not use any shortcut in exam. Yes, while doing the practice, you can use short forms like CA and CL, but in exam, you should never write the short forms. So current assets upon current liabilities. These are your numerator and denominator. Now under current assets, what all things are coming? Now you can refer to the book, keep the book in front of you. I may not take you to the question again and again, or I'll give you suggestion. If you do not have this same book, you are referring to some other author, then when I take you to the question, take the screenshot from there and then you can refer it later on. So I have trade receivables of 2 lakh rupees. So I'm going to write 2 lakh rupees for trade receivables. Then I have prepaid expenses of 20,000. I'm going to write prepaid expenses of 20,000 over here. Then I have another one as cash. Cash is 60,000. I will write cash as 60,000. Then I have marketable securities of 40,000. And at last I have inventory also. And inventory is 80,000. So all these items are added together to make the current assets. Now let's see what are the current liability. Under current liability, you have bills payable of 40,000, sundry creditors of 80,000. Then outstanding expenses are also there, and outstanding expenses are 80,000. All these things together, we have to add and then write the final answer. So 2 lakh plus 20,000 plus 60,000 plus 40,000. So this has become 1 lakh and 3 lakh. So the total of 4 lakh, sorry, 4 lakh. Total of numerator is 4 lakh. And denominator is 80 plus 80, 1 lakh 60,000 and 160 plus 40,000. So this is your denominator. 2 lakh is your denominator. So 4 lakh divided by 2 lakh is your current ratio. But how are you going to write current ratio? Never ever write like 2:1. Okay, sorry, means you do not write in something where your complete, like if I tell you 4:2. So this is not the complete solution. What do you have to write? You have to write 2:1. Means always your this side should be 1. Fine. So this was one of the very simple question here. Only skill you had to use was identification of current assets and current liability. But understand, in both such easy questions are not going to come, because they will expect you to have better skills and they will give you the tricky questions. So let us move to some questions which are not so simple, because these kind of questions can be done by any student on their own also without the guidance from my side. So let us see some questions which you may find difficult to do on your own. So we are moving to the next question, which is question number 5. Under question number 5, they've given you 3 cases and there is application of working capital also. If you remember, in the last class, we had discussed what is the formula of calculating working capital. Working capital is excess of current assets over current liability. So the formula of working capital is CA minus CL, or current assets minus current liability. So here in this question, they have given you 3 cases, and under 3 cases, you are supposed to calculate current ratio in each of the cases. So let us read first case. The first case is trade payable is given to you 40,000. Now remember that trade payable is part of our current liabilities. Working capital is given to you as 7,20,000 and current liabilities is also given 2,40,000. Now students, remember this, always they will do like this with you to confuse you. Some additional information is given. Now let's see, if for 40,000 is given to you as trade payable and current liabilities are also given to you as 2,40,000. What is to be done with trade payable? Sometimes students get confused. They think that in current liabilities, trade payable also need to be included, and they use this information. Whereas this information is just given to you to confuse you. It is not going to be used in our solution anyway, because under current liabilities, already trade receivable or trade payables are included. So this trade payable 40,000 is already included in 2,40,000. So you simply have to ignore it. And what is the use of working capital? We are going to use working capital to find out current assets. So the starting point of the question is going to be writing down the formula of our working capital. Okay, so we are doing case 1. Under case 1, first of all, we are writing the formula of working capital, and the formula of working capital is current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets upon current liabilities is ratio of current ratio, but this is the formula of working capital. Excess of current assets over current liability is your working capital. So are we given current assets? No. To find out current assets only, we are using this formula of working capital. What is working capital? Working capital is given to you in the question as 7,20,000. And what is the current liability given to you in the question? Current liability given to you in the question is this amount, 2,40,000. Remember this, we have to ignore this 40,000 trade payables or trade payables. Okay, so we are going to take only 2,40,000 as current liability. I will write CA as it is and minus 2,40,000. Now by change of place, I'm going to find out what is the amount of current assets. So 7,20,000 minus 2,40,000 is equal to current assets. 7,20,000 minus 2,40,000 is 4,80,000. So now we know numerator and denominator both of our ratio, and which ratio is to be found out. My ratio is current ratio. So I will write down the formula of current ratio, which is CA upon CL. Remember that here, because we are practicing, we want to complete a lot of questions. That is why we are writing the short forms. But in exam, we will always write the full form, current assets upon current liability. So what are the current assets? We just found out 4,80,000 are our current assets. And what are the current liabilities? It was given in the question as 2,40,000. Here also the complete solution is required. You will not just write off the zeros and divide it by 2. You have to get like is to 1. So 2:1 is your ratio. Okay, 2:1 means completely divided and then write. 2:1 is your ratio. If you have not yet written, I'm just scrolling up, pausing over here. You can take a screenshot, and scrolling down and pausing over here. You can take the screenshot and write the answers later on. The better thing is to do is solving the questions along with me. No worries if you have not kept your pen and paper along with you. If you are watching this video, you can pause on YouTube. You can pause it and you can bring your pen and paper along with you and start solving, and keep your calculations also along with me so that your concepts will be very, very clear. Now let us move to the next case of the same question which we were doing. The next case is case number 2. And what is this case number 2 saying? Case number 2 is also giving us similar kind of information, but a little bit twisted. Here they have given you working capital as 6 lakh rupees, and total assets are given 30 lakh rupees, and non-current assets are given as 22 lakh rupees. So as I had told you in the beginning only, that when you do this chapter, ratio analysis chapter has a strong linking with the chapter financial statements of the companies according to Schedule 3, final accounts of companies according to the Schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013. That particular format you need to know by heart. Then only this chapter is going to be an easy cake for you. Otherwise, what is going to happen? You will always get confused that what is the formula, because here there are certain formulas which are just made instantly. As such, no formula sheet can be given to you for that, because it will all depend on the kind of information which question is giving to us. Like in this question, they have given you total assets and they have also given you non-current assets. So if I know the balance sheet very well, I know under the second panel of the balance sheet there is asset side. Under asset side you have two type of assets: non-current assets. The further bifurcation of non-current assets is fixed asset. Under that you have PPE, intangible asset, long-term loans and advances, and non-current investment. And then you have current assets. So altogether two type of assets: non-current assets and current assets. So if I know two things, current assets, if I know two things, total assets and non-current assets, I will deduct both of this and I will find out my current assets. And how I'm going to find out the current liability? With the help of the formula of working capital. So this first part which I explained to you, total assets minus non-current assets is equal to current assets, you will be able to understand it only when you know the format of the balance sheet. So if you have not yet done the chapter of balance sheet, which is your chapter number 10 as per T.S. Girival's book, if you have not yet done, doesn't matter, at least keep the formula sheet format in front of you. You can find out that format in any book which you are following, the format of the balance sheet as per Schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013. That format has to be followed. If the balance sheet format we know very well, it is going to be very simple. So let us solve this question. I'm sharing my notebook with you now. So what you can see over here, you can first of all find out the current assets. And what is the formula of finding out the current assets? I will write total assets is equal to non-current assets plus current assets. Now, I know what are my total assets. Total assets are given to me by the question itself. So 30 lakh is the current total assets. And non-current assets are 22 lakh. Now by change of place, I will find out what is current assets. 30 lakh minus 22 lakh is your current asset. So means your current assets are 8 lakh rupees. Now that I know my current assets, I can easily find out my current liabilities by applying the formula of working capital. So see, what is the formula of working capital? First, we will write the formula of working capital. As I had told you in the previous question also, previous case also, working capital is excess of current assets over the current liability, means CA minus CL is your working capital. Is working capital given in the question? Yes, working capital is given as 6 lakh rupees in the question. So I'm going to write over here 6 lakh rupees working capital. 6 lakh is equal to CA, I know now, 8 lakh rupees, and CL is still to be found. So what are we going to do? We will take this current liability this side, so the sign changes and becomes positive, and we will bring this 6 lakh rupees over here. So this will become minus 6 lakh, and this is how I'm coming to know that 2 lakh rupees is my current liability. Now I will ultimately write down the formula of current ratio. So see, to reach to the current ratio, we had to use two formula. The first formula which we used is total assets is equal to non-current assets plus current assets. The second formula which we used is the working capital. The working capital formula is current assets minus current liability. Now see, the ratio, current ratio is equal to current assets upon current liability. I know both the things now. My current assets are 8 lakh rupees and my current liabilities are 2 lakh rupees. So what is my ratio? My ratio is 8 upon 2. But as I told you, we are not going to write 8 upon 2. We will write 4:1. So 4:1 is my current ratio under case 2. Let us go back and check case 3 also we are going to check. What is case 3? Case 3 is working capital is given to you as 4 lakh rupees. Total debt is given to you as 18 lakh rupees. And non-current liabilities are given to you as 16 lakh rupees. In the previous case, what they had done, in the previous case, they had taken the asset side approach. By giving you asset side approach, they had given you the total assets and they had given you non-current assets. Now what are they giving you? They are giving you from the upper panel of the balance sheet where we write equity and liability. So under equity and liability, what comes? This should be very clear in your mind. If you still do not know, please keep the format of balance sheet. So under, let me just try to explain it to you for those students who have not yet studied the balance sheet. So see, this is the upper part of your balance sheet where we write two things, equity and liability. Over here we write shareholders fund. Then we have non-current liabilities and provisions etc. comes under this. Then we have current liability and there is a total over here. And similarly on the asset sides we have two types of assets. We have non-current current assets, and we have current assets, and the total of both is there. And as it is balance sheet, so you know that this total and this total is going to be same. Now let us go back to the question and see that what information is given to us. So in the question, they are telling us total debt is 18 lakh rupees and non-current liabilities are 16 lakh rupees. Let us come back to this picture which we had drawn and see. Over here, I have given you that this is the upper panel of balance sheet where equity and liability is written. So this is non-current liability and current liability. And liability means debt in short. So if I talk about these two added together are called total debt. I know this thing, I know this thing. So can I find out what is current liability? Yes, very simple. From total debt, if I deduct non-current liability or what is the word used over there in the question? Let us read what word is used. Non-current liability. Yes, same thing. Non-current liability is given to me. It means what can I find? From total debt, I will deduct non-current liability and I will be able to find out what is current liability. Now, this formula you will have to make on your own children. So this is why I was telling you the knowledge of balance sheet is very important, because how many formulas like this you can make and learn? It's not possible. You have to have the knowledge of balance sheet chapter, then only it is possible to learn it like this. Okay, fine. So let us do this case 3. What is this case 3? The case 3 is telling you that you have total debt. So let us write down the formula of total debt, how total debt is being formed. So non-current liabilities plus current liability is equal to your total debt. What is the amount of your total debt? The amount of your total debt is given to you as 16 lakh rupees. Okay, so we are writing over here 16 lakh rupees, the amount of your total debt. Sorry, 16 lakh rupees is total debt or it's something else? It's non-current liability which is given to this thing. So what is given over here? Sorry, total debt is 18 lakh rupees, not the non-current liability. Non-current liability is 18 lakh rupees. Total debt is 18 lakh rupees. So here is my 18 lakh rupees. And non-current liability is 16 lakh rupees. And what do we have to find out? We have to find out current liability. So 18 lakh minus 16 lakh rupees. This we will deduct. And here is your current liability. So what is the amount of your current liability? The amount of your current liability is 2 lakh rupees. And how did we find out? We have made this formula on our own. The total debt is equal to non-current liability plus current liability. So if we know two figures, what is total debt and non-current liability, we can easily find out current liability. Now for finding out the current asset, again, we will have to take the root of working capital. So I'm going to write down the formula of working capital. Working capital is equal to current assets minus current liability, or excess of current assets over current liability. So let us see what is the working capital given to us in the question. Working capital in the question is given as 4 lakh rupees. So 4 lakh rupees is equal to current assets. I will just write down the current assets as it is because I do not know what is the current asset. That is what I am trying to find out. So current assets minus current liability, which is 2 lakh rupees. So 4 lakh minus 2 lakh is my current asset, and my current assets are 2 lakh rupees now. Okay, so now the final stage is finding out the current ratio, and current ratio is current assets upon current liability. We have found out current liabilities and current assets both are 2 lakh rupees. So it is 1:1. The ratio is 1:1. Fine. So see student, how we are able to do the questions if we have the formulas on our tips and the knowledge of our balance sheet as well. Now, we will see some questions where they have asked the liquid ratios also. But for that, we will go in the next video. So we will meet again, see some more tricky question of the current ratio and of the liquid ratio also. Till then, you keep revising these questions, and anytime when you practice, you should have the formula sheet in front of you till the time you are able to memorize the question, and as well as the format of balance sheet if you have not yet memorized the format of balance sheet. Okay, students, so we will meet in the next session where we will practice some more tricky question of the current ratio and quick ratio. Also, we will start in the next session itself. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And yes, do not forget to share and like the video and subscribe the channel. Bye.